Welcome back to the Penn News Hour. This is David Penn, your host, broadcasting from the studios of Free People Radio here in Minneapolis, the belly of the beast, recording this on April 14th, thinking about blasphemy. Blasphemy. Blasphemy is when people, pundits, professors, politicians use religious or semi-religious or sacred ideas in an effort to promote evil ends. Let's listen to a prominent pundit opining on MSNBC this past week.
Have to grapple with it because it's the snake, it's the beast coiled up in the heart, the bosom of the country, as Frederick
Stop
Douglass
right
said.
there, please. Why I say there's some blasphemy here. We're going to come right back to the clip shortly. Eddie Glaude starts out with, he's talking about the snake. So right away, he's appropriated the imagery of the story of Adam and Eve and the snake in the garden. And what he's going to talk about is racism. And why he's doing this is he's changing theology. Kind of blasphemous. Because that snake offered Eve a chance to be like God. To be like God in that if Eve ate of the apple, the forbidden fruit, and then shared it with her husband Adam, the snake said Adam and Eve would be like God, knowing good from evil. That is the fundamental cornerstone, the creation myth of Western civilization. What this professor, I think he's from Princeton, has done, he said, nah, it's not about human beings being like God. That's not the snake. The snake is actually offering racism. Let's continue.
And the fact that they are doubling down on this shows you what kind of human beings they actually are.
Say more.
We chose a felon who is more interested in loyalty, who's more interested in retribution, who's more interested in grift than in democracy. And we chose a felon because we didn't want to elect a black woman.
Stop right there, please. Okay. So this pundit is saying that President Trump is more interested, self-interested, more interested in robbing and stealing than he is in democracy. And he's going to make the case, this professor, that had the country elected Harris, a black woman, that would have been the full flowering of our democratic process. Well, first of all, if you're left or right, we live in a republic. Actually, the philosophy of republicanism is promised to every state that joined the Union. It's an actual philosophical idea, republicanism. It's not a party. The party took the name. Republicanism is the idea that every citizen is the sovereign, the king or queen of their own lives, and that the minority, their rights are protected. This man, this pundit, is going to start talking about democracy, which is if 50% of the people plus one say it's good, even if it kills you. Republicans believe, as a philosophy, that their life stands on a thousands and thousands of year tradition, that there is right and wrong, that there is good and bad. It's not democracy. This is the, getting down to the core differences in the country. We were born a republic and we became a democracy. Now President Trump seems to be trying to restore some of those Republican elements. So this pundit is saying, who are these people doubling down? We can see who they are because they want republicanism. That Republican, and because, of course, at the start of the country did have slavery. But it is rather blasphemous, sir, to change the meaning of the snake from giving to the people, giving to Adam and Eve the desire to be like God, and changing that to making it about slavery. And it is a subtle distinction, because to take slaves, you have to think you're like God because you've made another person subordinated to your will. Let's continue.
So to read that, to actually explicate that, is to say we would rather destroy the republic than for that to have happened. And until we grapple with it, there's no amount of protesting I could do. There's no amount of resistance that could come into play to actually force 78 million people to grapple with what motivated them to put themselves in this position.
Oh, that's bad. What he is saying is that 78 million people voted for Donald Trump because they were racists. And in so doing, they've given up the republic. They've put themselves in this terrible position. So it's all about democracy until 78 million people vote against your idea. And then in so doing, this pundit is saying, look at what you've done to yourself. You've destroyed the republic. This is one of the most threatening arguments, one of the most subtle arguments, nay, I say one of the most snake arguments I've ever heard in my entire career. This is the danger that we face. This is what's going on our campuses. This man teaches 18-year-old children. He teaches children just like yours, and they go in there without the right filters. They don't know the difference between a republic and a democracy. And these kind of people, these kind of professors, these leftists, are teaching the children that by voting for Trump, the Trump voters gave up the democracy. In other words, the threat that the Trump voters pose to other citizens is so great that the country will be destroyed. And to make it even more poignant, when I send and when you send your child to college, we have to pay to have our children taught this kind of divisive anti-American rhetoric. This is David Penn, your host, the Penn News Hour. Thanks for joining. I look forward to being back with you soon again.